It was surreal. It's really surreal, and I feel like emotional now just thinking about it because it's been so much hard work, and when people say move more, eat less, weight loss is simple. Yeah, right? But it's very hard to do in practice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stories of Obesity show. I'm your host, Dr. Dan. Now, the purpose of this show is to interview and showcase real individuals that are currently struggling with their weight. We're going to talk about the successes and failures that they have undergone, their experience with medications, and possibly even their experience with bariatric surgery. All with the hope that we can further bring awareness to obesity and the fact that it is a chronic disease and not just a matter of eating less and moving more. And today, my guest is Kendra. Now, Kendra has struggled with her weight for about as long as she can remember. She's had a couple of major contributors that have affected her weight loss journey, and those have included mental health and pregnancy. And today, we're hoping that you're going to learn the importance of therapy, the habits and lifestyle changes that Kendra has been able to find for herself that have helped her to lose over 100 pounds and maintain that weight loss at present. We're going to talk about Kendra's experience with GLP-1 medications, and we're also going to touch on her now journey of going through the process of getting plastic surgery to remove the loose skin that is currently on her body. I really enjoyed my discussion with Kendra today. It was a lot of fun, and she really embodies exactly the kind of individual that we are hoping to bring on this show to highlight and bring awareness to obesity about. And as a reminder, if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, turn on those notifications so that you never miss out when another show comes out. As well, if you have a story that you would like to share, the link and everything you need to fill out are all down below, and our team will reach out to you to potentially bring you on the show. As well, go and check out Kendra on her various social media platforms. She is a fellow YouTuber at Kind Kendra Creates, so be sure to give her a follow, give her a subscribe, and check out her content. And without further ado, let's chat with Kendra. Welcome to the show, Kendra. It very much is a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very excited to hear more about your story. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start, and maybe even just dive into a brief bit about your story as well?
Yeah, sounds good. So, I live here in the United States. I'm originally from the state of Louisiana. I
Nice.
moved
Okay.
to Chicago in 2018 when I got married. Shortly thereafter, I did have a child. Um, and I've pretty much been up and down with my weight all my life, mostly up.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a struggle with my weight all throughout my life.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I mean that is the common story and theme that a lot of people will have. And I mean that is exactly why we wanted to kind of do this show, was to highlight that this isn't just a matter of, eating less and moving more and, snap your fingers and do it the first time and it's not a problem. Like, clearly there's multiple things that can come up over and over again in an individual's life that make it extremely hard to manage their weight. And I think you had mentioned kind of our pre screening aspect of things, is that you had a little bit of struggle on the mental health side of things as well.
Yes, so I have struggled with mainly depression ever since I was a child. And as a child, you kind of don't know what that is. You just know that you're really sad a lot. You know that you're kind of like isolated sometimes from people a lot. And I feel that depression is a chemical imbalance, and it can also be exacerbated by life struggles, life issues that you have. And my struggles with weight was a life issue. Back in the day, fat children were obliterated by other kids, teased relentlessly. I was even teased by my family, pinched on my cheeks and pinched on my little rolls and, oh, that's baby fat or whatever. So it was really difficult for me because you don't have anybody to express the feelings that you're having. So you internalize it a lot. And having no coping mechanisms, food wasn't my coping mechanism. So it made my weight even worse because when I ate, it tasted good. And when it tasted good, it made me feel good. So it was a vicious cycle that lasted pretty much throughout my entire life. And the older I got, I graduated college, got my first big girl job, and I had health insurance, and I was being workplace bullied. Another story for another day, but I was experiencing a lot of anxiety with that job. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go see somebody because I can't keep struggling like this. And at that point, I was up to probably about uh maybe like 300 and something pounds. Yeah. Hmm.
All right. Yeah, I mean, and that is so challenging and tough. And I'm so sorry that you had to you experienced that and you went through that. And and it's always interesting because especially when it comes on the family side of it, like a lot of our family members, they're not doing it maliciously necessarily, right? A lot of times they don't know any better, and it's just kind of what happened to them, like, oh, you look so cute, your chubby little cheeks and that sort. And so we don't really realize the effects is going to have later on in life. And certainly you internalizing that and seeing it as a problem, people making comments on it. And in some cases it could have been more like, oh, kind of caution there, Kendra, like you need to start thinking about this and that sort. But that then leads to worsening the problem, because you're exactly right. When you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling anxious and upset, I mean, that's what our brain wants to do. It wants to engage with those high caloric foods that are full of the fat, sugar, and salt, because that's exactly what they're engineered to do. They're engineered to taste delicious and fire the dopamine in our brain. And it makes us feel a little bit better in that given moment when we're not getting any kind of relief anywhere else. And so it's no wonder that someone in your position would gravitate and go towards that. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've really gone through the paces, and it took you some time to kind of come out on the other side and be like, you know what, I need help with this. I need to talk to somebody. I need to start figuring this out, because I'm assuming it likely was having a negative impact on your overall health. But you kind of reach a point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way.
That's correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so take me through, how did things go with you in terms of working with the therapist? Was it hard finding somebody to work with that, had the skill set and know-how in that respect of things? Or did you kind of find one therapist right out the gate and you're like, nope, we connect, and you jived and went from there?
I wish.
Right.
And this is what I tell people. I know a lot of people say, like, oh, therapy, it doesn't work or it's just not for me. And that may be true in some instances, but I feel like a lot of it is trial and error. It's a lot about finding the right person with the right methodology that you vibe with, that is going to have kind of like the right mix of kind of tough love and being sensitive to your needs. That was like my first dive into getting help for my mental health,
Yeah.
but it has been certainly a process throughout the years, trying to find someone who I can vibe with. And then, over that time, I've moved and relocated several times. So
Right.
it was like every time I moved somewhere, I had to find somebody else. So, yeah.
Oh, totally. That would be so challenging. I know, like, even from my experience in working with therapists, yeah, you find some people that you're able to jive with, and then I one of my therapists, she went on maternity leave, and so it was a big gap there where I wasn't able to see anybody, and ended up finding somebody else to kind of work with. And it was okay, but it wasn't the same connection. And then I think I've gone through three, no, it's been like four or five therapists at this point to find somebody that can kind of, the methodology and just the relatability, I guess. And it's certainly a challenge. And it's always something that I encourage people, that if you're looking for support and a therapist, you can't give up just after that one where it's a bad experience. You got to keep going through them. And a lot of therapists, fortunately, kind of do like a free initial consultation, and you can have a chat. Do we jive? Is this going to work? And if even if it's not working after a couple of sessions, like, all right, I got to move on and find somebody else and kind of see who can I work with, who can understand, and whether it's the analogies or just kind of having a better relatability as to like how your individual mind works and to help you kind of through that process. What was some of the biggest insights that you were gathering as you were going through therapy?
Oh my goodness. Where do I start? So I think like for each stage of my life, it was kind of like a different lesson that was learned. When
Mm-hmm.
I was much younger at that time in my 20s,
Right. Okay.
it was focused a lot with like my childhood trauma and those types of things, my familial relationships. I kind of had to get over a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then as I transitioned, and got a little bit older, then a lot of it was, balancing my working career kind of like with my social life,
Right.
and being a woman in her late 20s, early 30s, still unwed with no kids, and actually wanting that stuff, so
Right.
that is like a stressor in your life as well. And then when I finally did get married and had a child, then I had postpartum depression. So I feel like therapy and getting help for my mental health issues has been something that's kind of just helped me through like every stage of my life and all of the major issues that I've had.
No kidding. Wow. So it's like, yeah, even though you had done all this work, grinded your way through it, and then yeah, you're well on the way. You get married, have a child, and then it's like, oh hey, here's another imbalance and mental health. It's likely a combination of kind of what you already were dealing with, and certainly you're more predisposed to that in the postpartum period. But it's like, crap, I've done all this work, and like, thank you hormones, and kind of messing that all up, and kind of not necessarily setting you back, but adding another bump along your journey, and making that whole process significantly more challenging. So I think you had mentioned that through that postpartum period you did, and through the pregnancy you also gained weight. And where did you kind of come out on the other side? How long did it take you to recover and start going back in the direction that you wanted to go?
Yeah. So when I got married, because like I said, my weight has always been up and down. So when I got married, I was about 250 pounds. And then, me being married and I don't know, just like, wanting to just be active and out there and just whatever,
Totally.
I did lose a bit more weight. So I got down to about 220. And
Okay.
then I got pregnant. And then I got back up to 250.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I had postpartum. So just me kind of falling back into old ways and old habits with the food, and being with the baby and a horrible sleep schedule and not making time to properly care for myself. I went up to 274, and I
Okay.
was like, there's no way after all the work I've done I am going to get back up to the 300s. We are not seeing this. And
Right.
so ever since then, I've been really, really, really serious about my health and losing weight, and now maintaining my weight, because, it's not just me anymore. I have a child that I have to care for now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that always kind of adds an extra element to it of, yeah, you literally have this extra being that you now have to keep alive, while also managing yourself, and trying to get back into your career and working and stuff. And so you kind of mentioned, like, yeah, just not prioritizing yourself. But even in that time, it becomes very challenging too, with everything that you've got going on, and then the postpartum and the hormonal changes. So yeah, you're going to be tired and exhausted, and it's not surprising that you definitely had a bit of a blip where things weren't going as well as you wanted. But it's awesome that you're able to recognize that I need to start prioritizing myself. And this is something that I talk to moms about all the time, that like we have such this cultural and societal norm that, you know, the woman has to take care of everything and put everybody first and, you know, not take care of themselves. But if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to quickly become not very useful to anybody else. It's the whole, you know, you got to put your mask on before you can help others on the plane kind of
Mhm.
thing. And so recognizing that and then starting to make those changes in a lot of respects allows you to actually show up better as a
Yeah.
mom and as a wife and all the other components of your life and identities of your life that you want to show up as. So I mean, tell me what has worked for you? What have you done to lose the weight and, you know, some of the behaviors, diets, medication? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so just kind of starting from the 274 part. We're not going to talk about, oh my goodness, all the up and down in the past before that. So once I got to 274, I was like, this is crazy. I got to do something about this. So one of the first things that I did was I did get a gym membership. Um, because we all know, we got to exercise just in general. So I did that for sure. And then I decided to do a Nutrisystem diet. So I did that I didn't do it long. I maybe did it for like 2 months, just as something to kind of, I guess, keep me on track. Cause I was a little confused. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I knew what I'm doing because I've lost weight before, but it was just like to keep me on track with the baby and everything like that. So I think I did that for like 2 months or so. I'm not sure. And then I just kind of, in the beginning for me, it's not necessarily difficult in losing weight. It is just to actually doing it and continue to do what I need to do. So basically, kind of cutting out those carb highly caloric foods, cutting those out and sticking to the basics like protein, a starch, a veggie. So that's kind of like where I was with my diet, just making sure I fill up on those veggies, make sure I fill up on my protein, and then, put a little starch on the side, like a little bit of rice or something like that. So then I got down to about maybe I was like 230, 220. I'm not sure. And it was just really hard for me. It was really, really hard. I was hungry. I was really hungry. And I was like, oh, maybe I was a little impatient. I don't know. But I had already, spoken with my doctor about everything. And that is when I decided to venture into the GLP-1s. So I started with Saxenda. I was on Saxenda because at the time there was a Wegovy shortage here. So I started with Saxenda. Um, and I was on that one for, I want to say, nearly a year until Wegovy came into stock. And then once Wegovy came into stock, I was on that one for nearly a year. Um, and then, Zepbound came out. And I wasn't on Zepbound long at all, maybe like 2 or 3 months, and then the shortage took over, so I went back to Wegovy. But I was about 220, 230, and with the GLP-1s, my lowest recorded weight is like 163, but I'm kind of holding steady at like 165, 170. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah. And just for reference, I'm 5'7" and 3/4", so I'm about 5'8". Yeah. So I'm kind of teetering on like highest BMI for normal weight range to like the lowest overweight category. Something that I've literally never seen in my entire life. I was like 200 pounds as a freshman in high school. I've never been this small in my life.
Well, and how does that make you feel? Like what are kind of some of the when you first maybe saw that lowest weight, what was it like?
It was surreal.
Yeah.
It's really surreal. And I feel like emotional now just thinking about it because it's been so much hard work,
Yeah.
and when people say move more, eat less, weight loss is simple. Yeah, right? But
Yeah.
it's very hard to do in practice because you have to be consistent with it.
Mhm.
And I feel like I was never, consistent long enough.
Right, right,
And for me to work full time and, take care of a child and also do things that I want to do for myself in my life, my hobbies, whatever I enjoy doing, my me time.
totally.
It's been something that I never thought that I would accomplish. Like I never thought that I could be like normal size. Like I had it in my mind that I was, that size. Like I was supposed to be that size.
Right, right. Okay. So you not only had, I mean, the struggles of trying to lose weight, sustain the changes you're making, but then also, I mean, it's this whole, it's kind of like a body dysmorphia type thing. Like you have to kind of coming to grips with, yeah, living in a smaller body and what does that look like? How does that look? And all the things that come out there. And that's often something, I don't think is talked about enough is that it's, it's a completely different, world in some senses. And, I often hear people talk about the attention they get from the opposite sex suddenly and different things like that, and even just the way that people treat you when you're living in that smaller body. It's like a whole other mental game that you have to play there, eh?
Yes. So my experience may just be a little different, and I
Okay.
say that because I'm from the South where people tend to be heavier, and I'm also black. So um I guess we have a different idea of like what our beauty standards are.
Okay.
So I never had trouble like in the romance department at all. Like I always got male attention.
Okay.
So that part, you know, no.
Yeah.
But as far as like the body dysmorphia, that is, I feel like that is definitely something that I am experiencing, or I just still, I'm still never like, I still can never, it doesn't really click for me as far as like if I'm shopping for clothes and doing stuff like that. Like I don't like instinctively run to like Lane Bryant or the Avenue or Torrid or anything. But like it's still kind of hard to believe that I can just pick up clothes and they be too big for me. Like that is something like new. Like a lot of clothes like just being too big for me or just ill fitting for me. Like it's an unusual feeling to have versus something like always not fitting or being too small or somewhere just not having your size.
No kidding. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, it's still definitely kind of an ongoing revelation challenge, what have you, that you're still kind of going through. And I guess how long has it been now since you've been kind of maintaining your weight?
Um, so fairly recently, I would say at this size, the 165, 170 range, probably about like a month or month and a half, 2 months now. Not that long.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So this is all like very, very new then for you. Like you,
Yes, yes, because last year I kind of went through like another mental health kind of episode, issue, challenge, or whatever. Me and my husband, we did separate.
okay.
So I was still working on my thing, like, still trying it. So I only lost like 20 pounds last year,
Yeah.
but only 20 pounds. I would have probably gained double that if it would have been a normal, like Kendra in her old way of living,
Right,
not
right.
having mental health help, not having a routine, not having healthy habits, not going to the gym. Like, yeah, of course, I ate more snacks than I should have. However, I didn't eat like I used to do. So
Okay.
I was like 20 pounds in a year. Okay.
I mean, yeah, like you said, like if it was completely the other way, like if we took 20-year-old Kendra and put her in that same spot, it would have been a very, very different story.
Very
And
different.
it, I think that's is such a cool example of the value of engaging in these healthy behaviors and consistently engaging them. Like it always comes to a point where when things happen, when bumps come up in the road, because life is never going to stop. But if you've been engaging in these habits, you've got a routine set up, it becomes much easier to automatically just do those things because, yeah, I mean, you're fundamentally changing your identity. You're a gym goer now, right? Like that's going to be a part of your life. And the other dietary behaviors and patterns that you engage in, those are all going to be a part of what you do just in your day to day. Whereas previously it was more, I would self soothe with X, Y, and Z. And like you said, there was still some of that, but it was more, you kind of were engaging in the positive to keep you moving in the direction and the way that you wanted to go, because you have built and done so much work around that. And at that point in time, you were on Wegovy then, or
Yes, last year,
yeah,
yes.
okay. And I mean, I think that shows another piece of where these medications come in as a tool that they can support you. They can kind of help manage some of that background appetite, cravings, and hunger. And I mean, you even mentioned like prior to going on the drugs, you had a great deal of hunger, even though you're getting the protein, you're going to the gym, you're doing all the things that are going to help you, but your body wants you to regain that weight, and it's going to be fighting against you. It's going to fight against those drugs and medications, and that medication really is a tool that supported you along that way to help you to continue working on developing the healthiest life that you possibly can for yourself. And yeah, it sounds like you've come out on the other side and are doing a lot better at this point in time.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's so cool. So yeah, so this is very new. You're kind of in a new space of this maintaining your weight, if you will. I guess what does the future for Kendra look like here? What is the goal? What are you hoping to do? What does it look like?
So I am very excited to be venturing into the land of plastic surgery.
Okay,
So from my highest ever recorded weight, I was 387.
387.
So I
Okay,
was nearly 400 pounds. And now I'm about, 165, 170.
right.
So I have a large amount of loose skin on my body.
Hmm.
And while I don't struggle like, major cases do, I'm not apple shaped. So I really didn't carry like a lot of weight in my midsection.
Okay,
However, it's there and it
yeah,
hangs. Luckily, I don't get like the rashes or, but I do have diastasis recti, I guess from being overweight so long and, probably the pregnancy.
yeah,
So I feel like my ab muscles they're weak, and so I feel like it kind of hinders me a lot with where I can be like fitness wise.
totally.
And with the loose skin, it's just there. It
Hmm.
hangs, and I have to kind of like tuck it into like my pants. And there's a lot of sweat there, and it's just not good, you
Yeah,
know. So it kind of weighs on me, literally and figuratively, because
yeah.
it doesn't feel good and it's not comfortable. And I'm getting it cut off. I'm getting it. It's gonna go bye bye. Yes. So I'm excited about that, and I feel like it's gonna not only give me a lot of confidence in the clothing that I wear, but I feel like it's going to definitely give me confidence to kind of go on to my fitness journey because I'm looking to get into the fitness side, maintaining my weight and getting more into weightlifting and kind of, building my body out.
Oh, that is awesome. I mean, yeah, so cool that you're looking at that, yeah, that fitness side and pushing yourself there. And yeah, the loose skin, it is a big challenge, and a lot of people often ask me like, is there any way to prevent it, and so on and so forth. But depending on where that starting weight is, like, yeah, there's sometimes you're not going to be able to do a single thing about it. Some people, if it's like a little bit of gain and such like that, there might be some regression, especially if you're younger and that sort of thing. But ultimately, the bigger that you started at and then the more weight that you lose, there's going to be some degree of it. And yeah, that becomes a whole other issue on its own. And I'm glad to hear you're not dealing with the rashes and, just even some of the other complications that can come with that looser skin with how active you are, because it does get in the way and can interfere with you progressing on your goals and the things that you're trying to do. And yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. If you don't mind sharing, have you done like the consultation and kind of have an idea of like what is the cost of the plastic surgery side?
Well, yes, I actually, and I'm just gonna do my shameless plug. I do
Yeah,
have a YouTube channel, which is the name at the bottom of the screen. So I kind of share all that stuff over there. But
nice.
I've done 3 consultations, and like I said, I live in the United States.
Right,
But I actually decided to go for medical tourism. So I will be traveling outside of the United States to get my surgery done
okay,
because I am getting multiple procedures at the same
right,
time.
okay,
I can't get them done all at the same time, so I'll have to go back next year to get even more done because when I say I have loose skin everywhere.
right,
You know, I've been obese all my life. So, I mean, my skin has been just stretched out, you know. There was really no preventing it with me.
right,
But yeah, so I've had several consultations. They've been via video since the doctors are out of the country.
right,
And I know people are like a lot concerned with medical tourism as far as the safetyness, the cleanliness, the surgeons, I guess, expertise and things like that. So those are things that one must consider if they do
mhm,
decide to do medical tourism. Um, and there are things that you can look at and resources that you can use. Like I said, I talk about that on my channel.
totally. That's nice.
If you decide that you do want to do that. But the cost is a whole lot less in another country.
Yeah,
So my cost just for the procedure is going to be around $10,000.
okay,
But that doesn't include a lot of things such as the medications and then the lab testing and the airfare and the post-surgical garments and all of that kind of stuff. That's additional cost. So it's a lot, yes.
definitely, yeah. And it's the medical tourism thing. Certainly, I would agree. Like, there's some places that you go to that would be a hard no in looking at that, but when it comes to the plastic surgery side and I mean, even the hair transplant thing, like everybody's going to Turkey, all the guys are going to Turkey for that
Yes.
and such like that, right? So it's expanding and it's growing, and there's, I think, a lot of clinicians that are within that realm of things who are probably very well much better trained and have a lot more experience where that is their entire focus in their given country or what have you. And so yeah, doing your due diligence, doing your research, collaborating with your current home clinicians and stuff like that to kind of let them know this is what I'm doing, and getting that additional support there. Yeah, and I think there is those opportunities to find the clinicians and the ones that have a good reputation and have done their due diligence, to provide the best care that they can wherever they are in the world, kind of thing. So I mean, that's fantastic because yeah, I would say your procedure in the States, like if just thinking like a tummy tuck or something like that, that one procedure, yeah, probably upwards of 15 to 20,000 dollars, and then if you're looking at multiple, yeah, 100 grand at the end of the day, kind of thing, of just the procedures. And yeah, so there is that value trade off in that respect of things. Awesome, Kendra. Well, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story and kind of what the maintenance piece of it looks like. I guess my last couple of questions, just with the medication piece and where you're kind of at from the maintenance aspect, how are you striking that balance with, what are some of the foundational habits that you're engaging in today, and what does it look like for the future of you with like the medication, and how are you managing hunger, cravings, and those sorts of things?
Yes. So, like I said, I live in Chicago, so I go to Northwestern, which is a world class medical center. Um, they have a whole entire like lifestyle medicine like branch, I guess you could say, where they have doctors that specialize in obesity. And even one of the founders of that center was involved in like clinical trials for Saxenda. So I feel like I'm in excellent care. These are doctors that believe obesity is a disease and these medicines can be used indefinitely to help treat the disease that you suffer from. I have excellent insurance that covers the medicine and that has been covering the medicine even for maintenance and, me being at a healthy, BMI weight range. But who knows how that will go in the future, right? So I've been off of the medication as I'm preparing for surgery. So I found so far everything has been fine. So far everything has been fine. So I feel like um, I am going to speak with my obesity specialist again and how I can kind of go into maintenance mode with the medications and maybe not necessarily taking it every week. Some people take it every other week or every week and a half or something like that while they're in maintenance. So we'll discuss that. But as far as the kind of pillars of the habits that have been instilled in me, um, surely taking care of and maintaining my mental health, top tier, 100%. I cannot ever get so far into my depression and using food as a coping mechanism. Can't let that happen ever again. And knowing about nutrition and eating a well balanced diet. I am not a fan of low carb for me, just because that is not something that I can maintain for the rest of my life. I understand people, it works well for some people. Some people have, metabolic hormone issues that they need that for. I don't, apparently. So I just like to eat a well balanced diet. I try to do my protein and my veggies first. I try to have a veggie with every meal. Um, so that's kind of how I do things. And of course, I eat out. I go to restaurants. I live on the wild side. I'm not saying that my diet is 100% perfect. And then I get my water in. It's like a routine. I think I set up a routine for myself, day in and day out, kind of doing the same health promoting activities, eating a well balanced diet, drinking a lot of water, and I only drink water. Like I don't drink soda or juice, like literally at all. I barely, rarely drink any alcohol. So I don't drink empty calories, which I feel like helps as well. Um, and of course, I'm a gym goer now. Who would think that I would be that way? And I understand sometimes life gets hectic, life gets busy. I'm a traveler. And like when I travel, like I'm looking up, do they have a gym? Do they have a gym? Like, so I feel like making those things part of my life and routine will greatly change the outcome of whether I have the medicine or not. Perhaps, I'll gain some weight back or whatever, but me being where I once was, I can't fathom it at this point because at my heaviest, I was suffering from health issues. And I don't want that kind of life ever again for myself.
Fair enough. No, I mean, I think that's a really beautiful example of striking the right balance of you're not too restrictive, you're finding, the healthy, balanced diet. And as much as I make fun of intermittent fasting and keto and stuff like that, I'm really quite diet agnostic, where it's just eat however you want to
Yep.
eat, but just it has to be sustainable for you. So if you
Right.
can't tell me that you're going to go without carbs for the rest of your life, then keto's not the way to go, kind of thing, right? And so finding what ultimately works for you,
Mhm.
and yeah, making that focus on the veggies, the protein, and then the activity. Like, I can't stress that enough. The activity piece, especially more vigorous exercise, actually sensitizes your brain so that these medications and your naturally produced hormones, they all work better, and so you can better connect with your hunger, your cravings, and be more mindful about it. And then the mental health piece, like I have so many people that come in and see me and talk with me, and they believe, well, I'll fix my mental health, I'll fix my depression if I just lose weight. It's like, uh, not quite how it works. Like, engaging in the positive behaviors, yeah, will probably get you going in the right direction, but just the pure act of losing weight isn't going to fix the underlying mental health disorder. And so you nailed it, that we have to manage that and be mindful of it. And it's that constant checking in and seeing how we're doing and dealing with life's ups and downs while still having fun and, yeah, investing in those top tier behaviors. Really, really awesome to hear, Kendra. So um, thank you again. I super appreciate you. It's been a pleasure to hear more about your story, and I appreciate you sharing it with my followers. And for everybody, again, Kind Kendra Creates is her YouTube channel and all of your other social media channels as well. Eh?
Yep, that's correct.
Beautiful. So if you want to learn more from Kendra, go and check those out. Anything else that you wanna add, or anywhere else that people should come and find you out there, Kendra?
I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for having me, and I want to thank you for what you do, just in general. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there,
Totally.
and you're kind of tackling some of that head on. That is not just about eating more, I mean, eating less and moving more.
Yeah,
Is Obesity is a very complex disease, and sometimes it takes creative solutions
absolutely.
to help people out because we live very complex lives.
Totally. Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, Kendra. And as I always tell people, like, yeah, you can lose all the weight you want, but you've got to leave your family behind, your kids behind, your work behind, and go live on a deserted island. And the weight will be gone, no problem. So if you're willing to do that, easy, easy peasy. But we can't do that. We got to stick around. Because really, the more important aspects of life is those that are around us, connecting with them, and having the best experiences and living the healthiest life we possibly can live. And it's not just losing the weight, it's all of the other things that go into it. And yeah, exactly it. Recognizing that obesity, it's not your fault. Nobody wakes up one morning and is like, I'd like to be fat. That's what I would like to go towards. It's so much more than that. And so yeah, I think your story really highlights the ups and downs and how you can come out on the other end and really be successful with it, Kendra. Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. Again, Kind Kendra Creates. Everybody go and check it out. And if you want to share your story on the channel, then be sure to check out the links down below and you can sign up and we can see if we can get you on the show. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.